Let's get started. Welcome, everybody, on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. I'm coming to you here from Rhode Island. It's gorgeous out today. And like I said, we've got Jay and Mara Shorr with Shorr Solutions here with us today. We've got an awesome event planned. We enjoy you guys, grateful for you guys joining us today. Hopefully, you are all doing well as the country enters into the three phases. And it's been interesting because my name is Tim Sawyer. I'm the president, co-founder of Crystal Clear Digital Marketing. We've got over 400 practices that we work with across the country and Canada. And our client base, it's interesting because they're all in different phases right now. So some are in phase one, very early, some are in phase two, and believe it or not, some are actually in phase three, particularly in Oklahoma. We've got a great client, just did a webinar and a podcast with her the other day that literally shared her experience of reopening her multi-million-dollar med spa, everything from PPE to texting people in the car lot waiting to come in for their appointment, to whether or not to wear face masks, making people feel comfortable. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of that stuff today, but it is definitely interesting. And the one thing I just want to say to everyone, having now been cooped up in our state, which is still in the very early opening stages. I haven't eaten in a restaurant or traveled in an airplane for going on 3 months. I miss all of you. I really do. And for those of you who know me personally or know Crystal Clear, know as well as the Shores, that we do about 70 shows a year. And, we've been now 3 months without shows, and we do miss those interactions. We certainly miss you all as people.
Yeah.
We look forward to getting back to see you again soon. So we're looking forward to that. That being said, what we're going to talk about today, leading practice management experts come together, right? 1 o'clock, how to use protocols and plans to increase your financial success post-COVID-19. Jay and Mara are going to talk about that, reopening in practice after being shut down for nearly 2 months. It's been tough on everybody economically, and for the kids to be out of school, there's all kinds of bad things that are going on, but we're going to talk about how to turn that into something positive today. Then we're going to talk about sales and marketing goals. We've learned a ton about the new ecosystem in sales and marketing, and the lessons that we learned from COVID are substantial. We want to share those lessons with you today, and I think you're going to appreciate it. So first up, I want to introduce Jay Shorr, founding partner of Shorr Solutions, formerly known as the Best Medical Business Solutions, a Florida-based medical practice consulting firm assisting practices with their operational, administrative, and financial health. Jay serves as the vice president of operations and practice administrator for a leading board-certified dermatologist and cosmetic surgeon in South Florida until her passing, we're sorry about that, in 2012, and held partnerships in 2 leading Florida plastic surgery centers in the past. A Temple University graduate, Jay has also served as a professional motivational speaker. He's a friend. He's a colleague. We travel together. Probably needs no introduction, but there you go. Mara, who is a partner in Shorr Solutions, is also a favorite name. You guys see her everywhere we go. Mara Shorr is a partner of Shorr Solutions, bringing more than a decade of marketing communication experience to Shorr Solutions clients. She's a certified aesthetic consultant utilizing knowledge and skills from her previous positions in marketing for 2 separate leading dermatology, cosmetic, and plastic surgery practices located in South Florida. No stranger to the startup world, Mara founded and ran the Leone Company, a marketing and communications relations firm based in Orlando, until she joined Shorr Solutions in 2012. Focusing on both internal and client strategies in traditional and new media, Mara is a public speaker, having served on faculty for countless, and countless is truly the word, probably 50,
Yeah.
countless associations and conferences. You guys are going to be in great hands for the next 50 minutes or so. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my good friends, Jay and Mara Shorr.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tim.
What Tim did not mention, excuse me, which is probably the most important part, is that beyond Mara being my equal business partner, Mara is also my daughter. And the history of how we became involved in consulting needs really no introduction for the purpose of our webinar today. However, upon the demise of the medical director, who was my late wife, we decided to turn a side hustle of assisting medical practices into a full-time business, and Mara soon after joined me. And the rest is history. We've been cohorts and known as, in this industry, the father-daughter team. And I love being coined that because long after my retirement days are done, someday distant into the future, I don't know when that's going to be, Mara will still always be my daughter, and not always necessarily my business partner.
They're very far.
I have no idea. The way the state of the things of the world are going, it seems sooner and sooner than I've ever thought before. But be that as it may.
So well, thank you so much to Tim today. We are really, really excited to be able to share our knowledge here today. And we know that there are so many webinars out there right now. And so we are here to truly just have a conversation with you and have a conversation with each other. And so for our portion, instead of having a PowerPoint, this is going to be a conversation together. And really what we're looking at are so many of the must-have conversations really when you are getting back to work. So with that, we are going to talk about a couple things. We know, just as Tim said, that our clients, and we have clients, as Jay said, across the country, just like Crystal Clear does, specifically in the aesthetic cosmetic medical space. And so we really have clients across the country, and we don't have anyone in Oklahoma though, right, Jay? We've nobody in Oklahoma, like Crystal Clear.
Not anymore. We did.
That's correct. So we no longer have anybody in Oklahoma, but so I can't speak to how Oklahoma is doing right now opening, but just about everywhere else. So we're going to talk about a couple things as people are in various stages of really getting back to work. We're going to talk about the importance of phone scripts, the importance of safety, and the importance of protocols when you're bringing your team back to work. And we're going to make sure to include pearls for the several stages, whether you are open and your practice is open again, or whether you are not open yet. So we're gonna look at the several stages. So in no particular order, I think we should get started with something that is near and dear to Jay's heart: safety. So I joke about this. Jay's former position was as a national safety manager. We travel, Jay, you and I travel a lot. Well, we did up until 3 months ago. And you and I always joke that we would walk into a hotel or into a practice, and Jay's the first one to look at, are the exit lights working? When was the elevator last inspected? Is something squeaking? Is there an appropriate step stool? And so nobody's on a rolling office chair. And I grew up thinking this is perfectly normal. Because he's my dad. So I grew up thinking all these things were completely normal when you go to hotels and business establishments. I learned later on in life, apparently it's not. But with that being said, Jay, let's start off with some of the key questions we're getting from our clients regarding safety and how they're implementing key specific things for not only the providers who are often the owners, but also for their team, because we've gotten questions about, should there be a difference in PPE for the team versus for the doctors themselves, for the providers themselves, and what sort of strategy they should implement. So let's kick it off with that. Jay, the safety guy.
Okay, actually, Jay, the safety guy, and I make a joke. I have been known as Jay, the safety guy, for my entire latent adolescent years and early in my professional life. Having been a former first responder, I've always been the safety guy. And the truth be known, when AOL first came out with their email addresses, I will share you, and to this day on my AOL, I have 2 email addresses, and they're called "Please Be Safe." And I have one with PLS and one with PLZ. Please be safe. And I've always believed in safety, having been as a first responder, having been as a surgical first assist, having been, in ancillary with law enforcement, it is very important to me because even if you've ever heard me lecture, I'll always say my top priorities in business. Yes, profitability is important, but believe it or not, of my top three, it's number three. Because safety of the patient and safety of my staff is number one. Bar none, safety of my staff and safety of my patient. All right. Number two, protection of my provider's licenses, whether it incorporates and includes safety. All right. Because you can lose a license. All right. Number three, have fun. And number four, make money. What I will promise you is that if you do not follow steps number 1 and 2, number 3, you're not going to have fun and you will not make money. So now that we've got that disclaimer out of the way, and what I do want to also make a disclaimer is many times you may hear me say in my former practice, in our practice, I do want to make a disclaimer into the medical community, which I do in each and every event that I lecture at. I am not a physician. Mara is not a physician. I've been a level 3 trauma, and I've also been involved in medicine all of my adult life. I do speak in medical terminology and vernacular. I've been a surgical first assist in the OR. Although we are medical savvy, people think we're doctors and they call me doctor, and I make it very, very clear from the very beginning that we are not. All right. So with that, I'll move on. Safety in the workplace, whether it be OSHA, whether it be PPE, whether it be parking lot, whether it be fire, whether it be electrical, whether it be occupational safety and health administration, safety isn't something that should be a new normal just because of the unchallenging and the challenging times that we're going through. Safety should always be. And I want to get away from the term new normal. And I want to call it normal. Because if you recall, we had a new normal at 9/11, for those of you who remember it. But it is not a new normal. Many times to have to take your belt off and open up your laptop case and take your shoes off if you don't have the extra $100 a year or 5 years going through the airports, but that's normal. In the beginning, it was a new normal. So I don't know when the next time that we're going to be allowed to go to a conference, when the next time that we're going to feel comfortable flying, as Tim said. I have not flown in 4 months. I have not stayed in a hotel in 4 months. I have not left except to go to the supermarket and to the pharmacy. All right. I sit out back, and I'll enjoy, and we live here in sunny South Florida, but it's not something that right yet I'm willing to entertain until I'm sure. I'm always going to want to take politics aside out of this, because right now, this is a very tumultuous society, as opposed to whether or not it's the left or it's the right. I'm left-handed, but I'm not even talking about I am on the left.
You're literally left-handed.
Yeah. I want to take politics out of it. I don't want to work for the Dem side. I don't want to work on the Republican side, because we're always going to aggravate one side or the other in how we go. But what I do want to listen to are scientists. All right, because these are the people that work for CDC and NIH, and these are the people, the scientists, that are going to tell us when it's healthy and what we should really do. Because I am not knowledgeable enough to know what is really going on. And I always want to exercise my highest level of precaution by listening to these professionals who are telling me. I want to stay out of the politics, who's right, who's wrong. I'll make my decision based on science, not on opinion.
So then, Jay, let's come back to safety. And let's circle back to, I think one of the questions we have is and we continue to get from our clients is, how should the providers, whether that's the owner or maybe additional providers in the practice, how should their PPE, not to be confused with PPP, how should their PPE differ from other team members' PPE, i.e. somebody that is sitting at the front desk, the patient care coordinator, somebody on the marketing team? So what would you say and what are you telling clients in that conversation?
Well, there's a difference between the frontline provider who is in your face, if you will, versus the one that is behind the counter, your director of first impressions, the one that greets you. Let me try to start off with saying that regardless of it all, I truly believe in social distancing, all right, where applicable, and also to have the PPE, whether it is the face masks, whether it's the shields, whether it's the goggles, whether it's an N95 mask, whether it's a triple filtration mask. I mean, they are very expensive. The more intricate you get, you'll see some of the people that actually have a NASA suit on. All right. And I laugh because, you know, it's whether it's reverse osmosis or some of these things that really fully cover you. There's all levels of PPE to protect you, protect your staff, and protect the patient. Now, many times, to do this properly, many people have heard me say, we've got to protect you from you in spite of you. Because what we're trying to do is protect one another. It's not me against you and you against me. How far the spread of the virus transmitted, I don't know. I've seen studies, you know, that it's 6 feet. You know, I'm on faculty at Florida Atlantic University, and they did a very interesting study with a mannequin dummy and the cough. And how far does that spread? Is it 10 feet? Is it 12 feet? And how far does it linger in the air? It used to be, if you were next to somebody and they coughed or they sneezed, you said, you know, if it was a sneeze, God bless you. Now I look at them and I move over. It's like, God bless you. Are you know, like, you know, it was, well, no. I was pouring pepper on my eggs and I sneezed. Well, you know, I don't know, you know, because now you become, you know, a little scared today. So you've got to have proper PPE for everybody in your office. And I say, allow your prospective patients and your patients that are walking through your door as recovery phases 1, 2, and 3 are getting put into place to see that you are practicing A, safe distancing, B, personal protective equipment, C, that when you're going to come near them, you have either the gowns or you have the masks, and they've seen you wash your hands, they see you put your gloves on for their protection, and allow them to know, even in your social media, your digital marketing. I always say, promote the fact it wasn't in vogue 3 months ago. It's like, why are you wasting digital marketing on faces with masks and goggles? But today, you know, even months ago, for us to do a webinar with my bookshelves in the back and Venetian blinds, you say, is the guy doing it from his house? It's okay to do meetings from your house. It's okay to see your doctor in telehealth now on the phone, right, Mara? So these normals now, you have to protect your staff, yourself, and your patients. And as I said before, I am very concerned about releases, and is it going to be enough that your staff is afraid to come back, your patients coming back, your staff wants hazard pay, your staff,
let's touch on each of these, right? So when we talk about staff being ready to come back, we've seen with our clients that there are some situations where some staff members have said, for a variety of reasons, I'm not ready to come back. It could be, we have some team members that have felt they were making more money on unemployment. We have others that say, I do have somebody at risk in my household. I have someone very young. I have someone who has a compromised immune system. I have someone who is a baby boomer and up generation. And so I'm not comfortable coming back to work yet. Some have said that, look, I myself am not comfortable coming back into the office. And so how are you advising our clients to have those conversations, and how should they go about either working with that staff member, and then at what point do they need to look for alternatives?
Okay, well, the first thing is it is important to note that today is Tuesday, June 9th, 2020. Now,
Yes,
the
and
reason I'm saying that
yes.
is because what I'm saying, Tuesday, June 9th, 2020 at 1:26 p.m. might change at 5 p.m. For example, the Payback Protection Program, which I've been lecturing on and writing on in a webinar, changed last week. And now there are different rules behind that. So all I want to say is keep and follow up on what the latest and the greatest of the rules are. Excuse me. Because when you make a determination of bringing your staff back, Mara just brought up a very good point. Some of them are saying, well, I'm not sure I want to come back because fundamentally there was an error made. And the error that was made is above and beyond the $250 in Florida or the $450 in California or whatever that maximum was in the states or commonwealths in where you reside and or work. There was an additional $600 federal unemployment stimulus that was attached to that. So what happened is there are some people that were not making $1,050 to begin with. And for them to come back making $15, $18, $20 an hour, or whatever that number was, they were making more on unemployment. So they said, I don't want to come back. So now when the office applied for your SBA PPP funding, it was based on last year's quarterly 941 and the amount of FTE, full-time employee equivalents that you had. All right. Now, I don't want to get into all of the reimbursement and all that. That's another topic. However, people don't want to come back because they're afraid. All right. Or they have, as Mara just said, they have somebody that may have a comorbidity at home, or they've been diagnosed with COVID-19, or they don't have childcare. And that's a very valid point. They had childcare, but now they're relaxing that a little bit more, and a lot of these childcares are starting to get back. However, their childcare may have been an elder parent, grandparent who now is sick. So you'll have the options of either you don't return to work and you forfeit your unemployment, or you go out on Family Medical Leave Act, and that's a whole other thing to speak about. But we'll get into that at another time or at the end if we have time. So you have to make the decision, how do I operate my business safely? So you bring these people back in stages 1, 2, and 3. And now you have the opportunity, if you've got your payback protection money, to extend it till the end of the year or 24 weeks, all right, from the date you got your funding. It's no longer the 8 weeks post-funding. So now you have a longer window in order to use that money to get reimbursed. So now you shouldn't have that problem in wanting to bring people back. If they're afraid to come back, you have to respect it if it's a safety reason or a reason not to be able to have care for loved ones. All right. So, but you've got to do it safely. You've got to provide your staff personal protective equipment. And some of the laws are saying that you can reopen. However, you've got to have enough PPE for your staff and your patients as you reopen. That's part of the plans of reopening. Now, Florida reopened several weeks ago. Texas reopened before. Look, we just spoke. We have staff in New England, and we have staff in, clients in Washington, and some of them are just reopening. Our staff in New England says they're just opening the mall. All right. So depending upon where you are, you just have to follow state guidelines, regulations, and safety precaution.
So I would encourage you to err on the side of caution, right? So you always would rather be better safe than sorry is what they say. We do have clients that have opted just to wait a little bit longer to open, that even though they were able to open by May 15th, they said, you know what, I'm going to wait and hold out till June 1st because that's where my comfort level is. So I encourage you, know what your level of comfort is and evaluate, are there positions that need to come in every single day versus are there positions that can work from home, whether it's several days a week or they can be working from home right now. A marketing position is an example of that. So if you have a marketing person that is very tied in to your practice, and they had been previously working in the office, that they often are somebody that is able to work from home, and maybe they come in one day a week for a few hours to just batch shoot content, for example. So I really encourage you to create what that plan is for each particular position. Now, we also, as we talk a lot about staff protocols. And this is something that I encourage right now for you to have weekly meetings. In the beginning, I would say for that first 1 to 2 weeks back in the office, have daily meetings, not just weekly. I encourage you daily meetings. These are not 1 or 2 hour meetings. These are 15-minute huddles, I would say, especially that first week, 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes in the evening at the end of the day. And just what went well, what do we need to change for the next day? What went well, what needs to be changed, what's our game plan?
You know, Mara, I'd like to bring you into a conversation because as people are saying, you know, we're getting back slowly, but what's very interesting right now, and I want to have you comment on a question I'm going to ask, we have 4 brand new clients opening up new businesses. We have one in West Virginia, we have one in Dallas, we have one in the Houston suburbs, and we have one who is moving from Atlanta, going to be opening up in Los Angeles. Now, I would never, in my wildest dream, thought that during these times that people, 4 clients right now in this last month that are opening brand new practices. So my point to you is, you know, as we're speaking about protocols, could you share what it is that we're doing to help practices? One just opened up June 1st. All right. We've been working with this deal and the sale of this practice for, you know, since the beginning of March. However, they didn't open because of COVID, but could you share what we're doing as far as protocols and staffing for each of, not individually, but each of the 4 practices that we're opening, the things that we do as you're opening that you should be doing anyway?
Yeah, so whether this is, and look, we know that this is a very unique period in time. It's a very unique period in our history. And so there is no other time like now. And, you know, and I also told our team I'm working very hard not to use the word unprecedented, because I said the word unprecedented has become like a drinking game at this point. If I hear it one more time, everyone's just going to take a shot every time they say it. So I encourage you to find different words to use if in your marketing. I encourage you, the viewer, the listener. But one thing I will say is that you need to have very strict protocols for everything in your office right now. And whether you are a new practice, whether you're an existing practice, there are COVID protocols, post-COVID protocols. In other words, who is in charge of sanitizing what, where, when, how, and how often, and where is that kept in the log, for instance? Who is in charge of inventory, and what is your protocol for ordering skincare products, for tracking and making sure that there isn't theft, the product doesn't just up and walk away? Who is in charge of reviewing your biomedical hazardous waste contract, periodically to make sure that it's not going to auto renew? Who is in charge of making sure that your equipment is all up and running and sanitized? I mean, look at each of these individual things and making sure that there's even protocols for how do you take a before and after photo. It seems like something that's simple, but if you have a team member that needs to jump in there and they've never used that camera, they don't know where to save the photo, they don't know that you need to take the photos at different angles, right? So if you don't have like that hexagon, octagon on the floor, they don't know that. Do they know what color backgrounds you're supposed to use for a different Fitzpatrick scale, for instance? So you want to make sure all these things are documented, even in a before and after photo protocol. And we've
Mara, how many protocols do we have?
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking, we have spent years curating and revising. I was even on a call with one of our marketing assistants this morning, and we said, oh, we realized we need to make an edit to one particular protocol because it didn't mention something that's come up in the past couple weeks or months. And we are constantly updating. We have at this point 250 protocols that we have over time created and smoothed out for our clients. And so if there is a protocol that you need as you're watching this viewer, listener, practice owner, practice team member, I encourage you, let us know, and we're more than happy to work together on that to make sure that you're set up with those protocols. And those protocols should be for your team. Those protocols should be for staffing. How are they to request time off if they need time off, whether it's due to COVID or it's due to something else that's come up? Because who should they request who do they put that PTO request into? How is it logged? How far in advance do they need to let know? Who in the practice, whose job is it to respond back and approve it? How is the rest of the team notified? We think of all of these things that so often, and look, when you're small, and I admit at one point, Shorr Solutions was tiny too. We're not so tiny anymore. But at one point, the company, when we first started in 2011, 2012, the company was at first 8-9 years ago, Jay and I. And as we got a team member, it's easy to just text somebody and say, hey, I'm going to be out of the office. And that's it, right? As you continue to get bigger, that doesn't work anymore.
Mara, how long should a protocol be?
I've seen everything from, and when we talk about protocols, it could be, it could be a process of how to do something. It could be, it could be a one sheet, but it could be 3, 4, 5 pages. My answer honestly is as long as it needs to be so that I could hand it to a total stranger that knows the industry, right? I'm not saying if I were to hand it to, my husband, who I love him and he's glorious, but doesn't know our industry. So he makes maps for a living. So if I were to hand it to an industry professional that had no knowledge of my particular practice and your particular practice, are they able to step in and understand it and do the job? So are they able to?
I look at it as it's almost like a written YouTube. All right, because when I want to learn how to do something or what should I do, I go to YouTube and my mouse is on the arrow because let me watch it for 3 frames, 4 frames and stop, maybe go back. All right, and that's basically when we write a protocol, the protocol may have forms attached to it, because if you're supposed to do something that requires a form, then we include the form. If it's a matter of taking a photo, how to take a photo, we actually take in there is a picture of your camera. Don't make a protocol that's so generic that doesn't meet the confines of your business. So if you're going to show somebody how to work something in your EMR system, EHR system, don't use a screenshot that doesn't apply to your EMR system. It's got to be something that it's a playbook that they pick it up and they know exactly what to do, exactly where it's located, and how to put their fingers on it. That's the best way to do it.
I agree. So, the other thing that we want to talk about when we talk about playbooks, let's talk about scripts and the advantage of scripting, the advantage of phone scripts. And I encourage you, as you're listening, as you're watching, if you have specific questions for Jay and I would love to see them in either the questions or the chat, whichever is easiest for you, so that we can answer your specific question. So, about the importance of phone scripts. So, Jay, as we've seen, right, there are a lot of people that say, I don't want my practice to sound scripted. And we always say, but the option is that it doesn't sound rehearsed, and that you kind of bumble your way through it. And so we have conversations with our clients all the time about truly the really strong importance of phone scripts. And before we get to the phone itself, or the scripting, Jay, what would you say are the top things that we always tell our clients to do when they're answering the phone? Starting with, they pick up the phone and
smile.
Start with a
I want to
smile.
hear a smile.
Yes.
I don't want to feel like I am either an interruption or an annoyance of your day. You know, there's an old joke that if it wasn't for the patient, I'd get so much work done. All right. In our business, if it wasn't for the client, I'd get a lot of work done. You know, don't ever lose sight of the fact that the patient and our clients are our business, bar none. You know, you work for the patient doesn't work for you. We work for our client. The client doesn't work for us. Now, as far as scripting, no, you don't want to sound robotic. You know how a telemarketer calls you and as soon as you say hello, it's not a robot. However, it sounds like a robot because the person on the other end, even if they just keep going until they're done with their script. All right. And you want to make it seem warm and friendly, that you make that person feel that they're so happy that they called your practice. Starts out number one. It is never an open-ended question. Dermatology, plastic surgery, how may I direct your call? That's open-ended. It shouldn't be that way. It should be dermatology, cosmetic, plastic surgery. This is Jay, and I can help you. I can help you. Oh, wow. I now realize that whoever has answered the phone can help me. Now, they may not be able to answer the question. However, even if they direct me to the right person that can, they have helped me. And then my number one pet peeve is when I say thank you and somebody says to me, no problem. It's meant very
well on that. I see even our own team, when you could tell that the natural response may be no problem. In our team, we have a specific team member. He's fantastic, and he will say, "My pleasure." And he, what we ask him to do, he says, "My pleasure." So you've even trained our own team on that.
First of all, I don't have a problem. Now, my problem is having a problem with you having a problem saying no problem. Right? It's not a problem. It is my pleasure to do anything for you, the caller, the prospective patient, the patient. It is my pleasure. I want to be treated like it is a pleasure for you to do this for me. I want to be treated because even on the phone, that is the direct correlation of how you are going to make me feel when I come in. All right? And it's like, please allow me to be the first one to welcome you to our practice. And when you're walking that patient out the door, don't let them just pay and leave on their own. Escort them to the door and thank them for being part of the Team Shorr family, the practice. Thank them for their business. Make them feel special. Do something that nobody else does, because there are so many other options for our prospective patients to go to. Don't leave them with other options. Make them feel they want to do business with people who want to do business with them. So the importance of scripts is know your material and have Q&A of when that patient calls to engage them. Credential the staff. Always say what a wonderful team, what wonderful providers, what wonderful doctors you have, because the doctor and the team can't credential themselves well enough. When people call me and they want to know about my team,
a little cocky.
Yeah, wait till you meet Mara. Wait till you meet Anna and Rob, my team. You're going to love working with them. So all of a sudden, the people are going to love working with the team because my team has already been credentialed.
Yes. Yeah. No, you put that so well. And we encourage when we work with clients, we say that whenever I speak with the person at the front desk, the director of first impressions, we so often call them, that I will say, have you had treatments from the providers? And if so, what was your experience? Tell me from a patient perspective. Oh my gosh, he is such an artist. She is so gentle and calming, because I was so scared. Oh, this person, they have such incredible attention to detail. Patients keep coming back again and again that, oh my, I see where this doctor, this provider, they should just wear roller skates, because they're in and out of treatment rooms because there are so many patients that come all the time that they're just in such high demand. And I was grateful that I could sneak in an appointment after hours because, let's be honest, they're in such high demand because our patients love them. You want to use your own words because it's going to sound that much more genuine. So think about, what are those bullet points? Yes, you should know where the providers went to school. Yes, you should know, are they board certified? Are they double board certified? If so, by which boards? How long have they lived in the area, et cetera, et cetera. But what really matters is their craft, and how have they crafted and really become experts at their craft. So I encourage you to really think about those particular things. And then I also encourage you to dig a little deeper when we talk about phone scripts, because in relation to COVID and in relation to non-COVID, you should know every team member who picks up the phone, any team member that picks up the phone should know what to say if a patient has questions. And there should be these FAQ bullet sheets. I encourage you, don't give them pages and pages per procedure to read. Yes, everybody should be familiar with what's on the website, but make it easy to read when they're on the phone, when that team member's on the phone. You should know about the most frequently asked questions with the procedures, and you should also know how to book that appointment and offer the next available appointments when that patient no longer has questions. You should also know, when it comes to questions related to safety, what is your practice doing? Because honestly, the patient might say, I'm a little nervous to come back to the office. I had an appointment last week, me, Mara, as a patient, I had an appointment last week, and it was my first appointment. It was my first time being back in an office since pre-COVID. And that was something that the team did very well ahead of time. They explained, this is how you will register for your appointment, or this is how you'll make your appointment. This is how we will let you know when the appointment is ready. This is where you will sign in. There will be a temperature check. This is, if you don't have a mask, we can provide one for you. And this is where. This is how your appointment is going to be different than it was when you were here several months ago, because things are a little different now. And that's okay. We're doing it for your safety. And I encourage every one of your team members to be able to explain that to a patient. And when you calmly explain that and you use the smile, as Jay said, your patient is going to feel more comfortable. So this is really something, safety has become something that is now part of the conversation when it comes to, I don't want to say selling a patient, but when it comes to making sure that your patients are comfortable booking.
It makes me feel I was so ahead of my times when safety was so important, but it should always be. Mara, I'd like to ask you, the digital marketing and the website company that you choose, we have multiple clients that we share with Crystal Clear. And it's very interesting because there's, to me, a separation of where Crystal Clear and your digital marketing, your website company starts, and where they leave off as the handoff, if you will, to the practice. And I've heard so many times, well, my website company, my digital marketing company just doesn't do their job. And I said, well, okay, share that with me. What are you talking about? Well, I got 100 leads and I only converted 20 of them. And I say, you got 100 leads. Your website and digital marketing company got you 100 leads and you converted 10 of them. And you're actually going to share with me that you feel that the website company and the digital marketing company didn't do their job. There's a common denominator, and let's really determine who didn't do their job. All right. So I'm going to reel it in for a little bit, because you mentioned about where the doctor went to school. I always feel it is the website company's job to do that type of a thing, promote who the doctor is and where they are, and some of their education and the procedures. And then there's the handoff, right? The contact us, the the lead track from the time that they click to the time that it goes to the practice. Could you explain the handoff from the digital marketing website company to the practice?
Yes, and I know that Tim is going to hop on in a few minutes and talk about sales and marketing. So I know you'll get, lucky for you guys, you will get a really great in-depth conversation from Tim in just a moment. That was my segue. Yes, of course. Right. I knew where you're going with that. We've lectured with Tim, and we've had these conversations with Tim so many times. So it's always that pleasure. And I know that one thing that we always want to reiterate is that you should, like Jay said, know how many leads are coming in. Now, Jay, I'm not sure if you meant 100 leads in an hour, 100 leads in a day, 100 leads in a month, or 100 leads over 5 years.
Yes, so, it doesn't matter. 100 leads and they only converted 10. It doesn't matter the length of time. It's not the digital marketing or website company's fault.
Sure. Now, if we're talking 100 leads over 5 years, then kind of, you want to have that conversation with your digital marketing company. But if you're getting these leads and there is only a 10% conversion, that is where you want to look at what your conversion process is and what happens at each point of what we call the conversion cascade, also known as your sales process. What happens at each point? So we know that leads are coming in, but what sort of phone conversations are being had on the phone when somebody calls? How quickly are those leads responded to, either through text message, because we know that there's text message software available? How quickly are those leads responded to via email, by phone, online chat, etc.? So you want to look at how quickly are they responded to. You also then want to look at
how quickly should they be responded to?
ASAP. So I say that you really should get back to them within 15 to 20 minutes, because honestly, I'll get back to you in 24 to 48 to 72 hours. 3 days later, somebody is you're on to the next practice, right?
I'm on to the next practice.
You're on to the next practice. Who else can do my neurotoxin? Who else can do my lips? Who else can do my facial or my surgery? So that's where, at that point, you're calling just to get information. That's the information gathering point. Then you want to look at, once the front desk has done their job and they have really booked that appointment, they've booked a consult. And so, because until that needle is injected, until that procedure is done, surgical, non-surgical, it's not considered a procedure, it's a consult. So you want to make sure that your patient care coordinator and your provider are having strong, effective conversation, and Tim's going to have those, and speak on that as well. What does that sales process look like? What do your follow-ups look like? What do the timelines look like? How are you automating it? And these are things that Tim is going to be able to have really great conversations with you about in just a few minutes. Because without that really tight process, you're letting leads slip through the cracks. And finally, after you have gained that person as a patient and you have spent time and money and effort and energy and strategy, and all of this is put into your campaign and it is executed beautifully, you have won the patient, you need to keep the patient. And so that's where marketing and continued sales, to keep everybody on track, as Tim is going to talk about, that's where this becomes so important. Because without keeping that patient, you've spent all this time and money and energy, etc., and that patient could walk right out your door. So I truly, truly encourage you to have a strong marketing system and marketing plan. And if there are, I know we've had, we have people that have attended today, a lot of people that couldn't make it. So if you are watching this now, or if you're watching this later and you have any additional questions for us, because I know that our time is almost up, then I encourage you, send us an email at info@shorrsolutions.com. We are also on social media at Shorr Solutions. We have webinar series. You can find information about that on our website. We have Shorr Solutions, the podcast. We have an upcoming episode with Tim pretty soon. So that's going to be pretty exciting. You can listen and keep an eye out for Shorr Solutions, the podcast. But we are always happy to help and happy to hear from you. So with that, Jay, what sort of last comments and notes do you have for everybody?
Well, I do have one more question before we end, Mara. A question came in, and the question is, I have a lead that comes in on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
How soon should I respond when the lead came in over the weekend? I have my own Jay's opinion. You know, can you share what some of the opinions in the industry are? Because, you know, everyone has a different opinion on that.
Sure. So somehow, some way, that lead needs to be responded to, and one way or another. Now, look, if you say that because it's a weekend, somebody, you know, maybe that 15 minutes isn't necessarily possible, but if you say within the hour, right? So you want to make sure that somebody is responding to that lead. I encourage you to assign, and this is where you need to think through, who on your team is able to respond to that lead within the hour. And it could be that everyone on your team takes a different weekend. And so they have one weekend a month, they have one weekend every other month. Is it the same person that says, look, I know that part of my salary is based on performance, and my bonus structure is based on performance. So give me all the leads. I want all the, you know, give them to me, because we know we've seen a lot of team members like that too, and they are mean booking machines. That's the person you want in your practice. But and if you don't have access to the schedule on your mobile device, because we know that some are not, some are not based in the cloud, although at this point most are. And I know that you can ask all sorts of questions of Tim as well about crystal clear software. But if it's available by cloud, you're able to see that schedule and get that patient booked. The 10 minutes out of your day on a weekend, out of your team's day, goes a long way. And look at what kind of compensation model can assist with that to thank your staff. How are you able to offer a bonus structure surrounding that? I also encourage you to not take the mentality of, oh, that's okay, I'll get back to them by the end of the day on Monday. We have become a society of immediate gratification. And while that theory may have worked 15 years ago of I will get back to them on, by the end of the day on Monday, if somebody replies or somebody sends something in on a Friday evening or a Saturday morning and they wait 3-4 days, and that gives your competition time to swoop on in and snag that patient that you had every chance to get on your schedule. And customer service counts. What if you had to wait 3 days for an Uber? What if you had to wait 3 days for Amazon Prime? Nobody was happy when all of a sudden that 1 day shipping was no longer an option, right? It's not going to work. We need Amazon Prime. What do you mean I have to wait a week now? Why can't it be here by 10 a.m. tomorrow? We are an immediate gratification society.
Right. In closing, what I'd like to share is that Shorr Solutions is a management company, and we assist dermatology, cosmetic facial body plastics, cosmetic plastic gynecology, and med spas in the operational, administrative, and financial health and guidance of your practice, from the beginning stages of opening a practice to the interim stages of perfecting your practice, and also in the end stages of exit strategies and succession planning. Because as important as it is to have a business plan when you open your business, as important as it is to have a business plan to run your business, it is equally important to have a plan to go out of your business so that you do it properly and legally according to state boards of medicine, and the right way to get out of your own business and make the most of all the fruits of your labor that you've done for all those years. Now, we help to manage marketing processes, but we also specialize. Our main goal is in the management to help you as virtual COOs, CEOs, and having a team of experienced professionals to help you as we partner with companies like crystal clear. We share companies and we collaborate, not compete. You work with one another to help your client, you, the client, make the most, because it's very difficult to have a limited amount of staff achieve what a group or a company can do for you with the limited resources that you may have.
I agree. Absolutely. And so with that, Tim, are you ready to take on and take over and go on with the next part?
Will do. Guys, I really want to say,
Tim, did you wake up? Wake up, Tim. Did I put you to sleep?
I always enjoy listening to you, both of you, and I do,
Likewise.
as I mentioned in the opening, how much we miss the camaraderie of the road, not just our clients and other vendors, but personal relationships that we built through years, right? Almost a decade now. So I want to thank you so much. I hope everyone sticks around to the end. We actually have some really cool promotional stuff that we want to talk about in conjunction with the Shorrs and this webinar. And if we have any questions come in after you guys bounce off, we'll make sure that we get them over to you. As always, appreciate both of you coming on today. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you for having us. It is always.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
I look forward. I don't know when, but I look forward to seeing you whenever we get together.
We'll see you soon.
Okay.